What's up, YouTube? I'm preparing the small tent for a grow. I have seeds sprouting. I'm going to grow in here. I'm going to grow two plants. I'm going to grow a trippy gorilla, two of which I already have growing hydroponically in my bigger tents. But I'm going to grow one in here in soil. And the other one I'm going to grow in here is going to be a California Kush, the one that I just harvested. So I know that the California Kush will fit into this enclosure because I just did it, grew it to maturity. And I'm pretty sure the trippy gorilla will too, because of what I've got going on with the other two in the bigger tents. They're staying kind of small. I flowered them early. I flowered them at 2 weeks because I didn't want them getting too big and crazy like the Neville's Haze did. So I think I can get a trippy gorilla to stay small enough to mature in this plant, and a California Kush. Now I had to spend $100 today on some gardening supplies. Yes, I'm using just plain old Miracle-Gro potting mix. I've used that Fox Farm stuff before, and you know, really I don't see much difference. The potting mix is, the Miracle-Gro is less expensive. I got my extra pot and the saucer that it will go in to catch any spill. I got that at Lowe's. I went to Lowe's. So I saved some money. I got the potting soil at Lowe's too. So I spent 20 bucks at Lowe's. Then I had to go to my hydroponic store, and I had to get a bottle, a small bottle. I want this thing focus, of CalMag. Now the last bottle I bought was twice as big, and it was a $20 bottle. But I didn't want to spend $20 on another bottle because I probably won't use it all. You may be wondering why I'm... oh, the other thing I had to do was, and this was my fault, this was my bad, this is my old pH meter. I inadvertently left the cap off of it, and the probe in there got dry, and when it dries, it dies. It's no good. So I had to spend 60 bucks on a new pH meter. So why am I maxing out my grow space with plants in here when I have the two big tents occupied and growing? And why am I cutting corners on buying smaller supplies? The reason is because, just like Peyton Manning said to Bill Belichick last year, this could be my last roundup. I could be coming into my last grows, and I'm moving out of here, hopefully. My goal is to be out of here by the end of October, which is only 3 months. And if I can do that, I'll be moving to a place where I won't be able to cultivate. So this could be my last grows here. And that's sad, but sacrifices have to be made in order to survive. So I'm going to pot up these other, I got this little trippy gorilla seedling going here. I have another one, a seed of California Haze that's just about to sprout. It's just about to pop up out of the ground. So I'm going to get these planted into the small tent. Now I have to make some changes here. These overflow pans, they call them. These things here, these are to catch any spill. If this was a hydroponic, you know, there'd be the risk of spillage. There's not going to be any spillage, or very little, with soil. But these are here to capture anything that should spill. But as you can see, X marks the spot. That's the center of this tent. And I can't put one of these big pots right there and another one right there because it'll be crushing these things. And I don't think I'm going to need them anyway. So I'm going to take these out, and I'll probably just put some sheet of plastic down there, just in case there is any spillage, and I'm going to keep a supply of rags on hand to sop up any spills. So, and I'm creating a makeshift trellis. I'm just stretching some of this floral wire across, tying it off, because I may have to do some tying down to keep all these things contained in this small space. So I'm going to get the rest of these seedlings potted up, and then I'm going to cut away, and then I'll come back. Alright, so here's the other pot that I'm going to grow in. You'll notice these 4 holes on the bottom along the side. That's for drainage. You can't grow a plant in a container that doesn't have drainage, because it'll just stay soaking wet and it will rot. You've got to soak it when it needs watering. Soak it until the water runs out the bottom, and then stop. And then any excess water will drip out there, and it won't stay stuck in the pot and rot the roots. You have to have drainage. Now, one thing about these drainage holes is they're pretty big. On some of the pots, like for my household, I do a lot of indoor gardening with houseplants. And some of those holes in the bottom, they can be kind of small, and they can get clogged. And we don't want that. We don't want those holes getting clogged. And these ones, since they're so big, once you start pouring dirt in there, it's going to start spilling out down at the bottom. And the first time you water it, a lot of that potting soil is going to flow right out the bottom. So to prevent that, this is an old trick I learned years and years ago. You want to cover those holes with a piece of broken crockery. Now, a lot of people use clay pots for the indoor gardening and outdoor gardening, and sometimes those pots get cracked and they break. Don't throw them away. Bust them up into little pieces and use them to cover these holes. Just like this. That way, none of your soil is going to leak out, and that hole isn't going to get clogged by clumpy potting soil. So, I'm going to fill this up, and I'm going to make it ready for its new seedling, and I'll get right back to you. Now, these solo cups, these plastic cups, they make terrific starter pots. They're cheap, they're recyclable, and they're just real handy to have. And what I do is, a little hard to see, let me get some light on there. I cut holes in the bottom. Let me get this thing to focus. Come on, focus. There we go. I take a razor knife and I cut some holes in the bottom for drainage. I got 4 holes there, one in the corners and one in the middle, because it has to have drainage so it doesn't rot. Right now, you can't see it yet, but in this little hole right down here is a California kush seed that's about ready to break the surface. So I'll get back to you in a minute. So I just made a liar out of myself. I said I didn't think that there would be much spillage with the soil, but you know, the problem with potting soil is, and I've had this trouble lots of times, is when it's really dry, when you pour the water in over it, the water just runs straight to the bottom and straight out. It takes a long time for it to get absorbed, and it doesn't have that time. So it just, from the top down, it just goes right to the bottom and runs out, and your soil still didn't get really soaked. So what I've had to do is put it in the kitchen sink, use the hose, you know, the sink hose, and just keep filling it and sticking my hand down in there and kneading the soil like I was kneading a loaf of bread dough until all the soil got completely soaked. But look, see that? it was just pouring right out of here. I had to use a couple of towels to sop it up. So you might want to soak your soil before you put it in position. So what I did was I took out those two pans that were there to catch water, and underneath it's just black fabric. And if I just left that fabric bare, obviously it would have gotten soaked, but I would have had to put some plastic over it anyway. But that black is not reflecting any light, and I really need all the light reflectance I can get. So what I did was I took the partition that would have been separating these two chambers, like this vertical partition, and I laid it down. I took the two pans out and I laid this partition down, so I'll get all the reflective light reflection that I need. Alright, so here we have it. Here's the soil mixes. I have a tropic gorilla right here. It's my little sweetheart right there. And over here's the California Kush. That little lady should be sticking her head up above the ground any day now. So both of these plants are going to get the same light cycle. And they're both going to get flipped into flowering at the same time. And hopefully I'll be able to maintain them and contain them in this small space without causing any problem. Alright, so here we have it. Here's the soil mixes. I have a tropic gorilla right here. It's my little sweetheart right there. And over here's the California Kush. That little lady should be sticking her head up above the ground any day now. So both of these plants are going to get the same light cycle. And they're both going to get flipped into flowering at the same time. And hopefully I'll be able to maintain them and contain them in this small space without causing any problems. And I think I will. So that's a wrap for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time. Oh yeah, and I have to correct myself. I misquoted Peyton Manning when he spoke to Bill Belichick last year. He didn't say this could be his last roundup. He said this could be my last rodeo. So just to set the record straight. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends. Have a nice day, and we'll see you next time.